That was a Disney movie, right? Pixar
Yeah.
movie. Disney
Yeah.
and Disney. Hmm?
Might have been DreamWorks.
DreamWorks. All right, DreamWorks. So DreamWorks, Disney. I don't know much about DreamWorks, so I can't really speak too much on their behalf.
Oh no, it was Pixar.
Pixar. All right, Pixar. I still don't know much. I know only primarily about Disney because Disney's just the biggest name out there, and they're the biggest. Just how can I put this? The biggest
I mean, they're basically a
hypersexualized fanny
monopoly
bandits.
now. I mean,
Yeah.
they own so many properties now, and they bought Fox like 2 years ago, and
Sheesh.
they own all of Marvel. Pretty much anyone else who had any other rights to Marvel people, they've reverted back to Disney, and then they keep like their copyright protections should have been up like years ago, but they keep somehow convincing Congress to renew all their copyright shits, which should be non-renewable after like I think it's like 75 years or something.
Sheesh. There's a reason. They'll probably work together. I don't know. It's just corrupt overall, man.
Yep.
That shit. If you want something new, everything has to be wiped out at once. Honestly, at once. No missing hinges. No leftovers. No, every person needs to be wiped out once for good, and then that's when real change will happen. But probably won't happen in our lifetime, or it could. It could. Anything can happen, honestly. But in the meantime, just that's the thing we can do is just educate ourselves and stay there and try to move the best that we can. It's kind of what it
Yep.
is. We get an opportunity where we could change our lives. We just got to make sure to read the fine print, make sure that it doesn't really affect us in any moral way. Really, you know.
Yeah, just do what you got to do. Do what you can do without breaking the law. If the
I
laws
mean,
change, try your best to
yeah,
try
I
your
feel
best to
you.
fix
I
it.
mean, it's the laws again is not meant for the rich and wealthy. The law is meant for
Yeah, of
everyone else
course,
that's not on their status. So
of course.
once you make money, you can do whatever you want. Basically, that's kind of what it says. And they give you avenues, but it's like the avenues that they had to go to in order to maintain that. So if you find a new avenue, they feel threatened and they want to capitalize on that or do a whole bunch of what's it called copyrights or cease and desist type of stuff. Like
Yeah,
it's crazy.
yeah.
It's crazy.
Like that, like Disney, like that quote unquote. I don't know if you heard about it. That quote unquote "Don't Say Gay" bill in Florida.
I, I
Which,
didn't I didn't even want to bother reading that.
uh,
Honestly, I
yeah,
don't. I got a news feed about how teachers were leaving that because I think half the school force, half the workforce was leaving because of that "Don't Say Gay" bill.
yeah.
I'm just
Well,
like that's all.
don't, yeah, "Don't Say Gay" is like a gross mis. It's pretty much a lie. Like that's not what the bill says at all. The bill is just to stop teachers from basically grooming kids from kindergarten to third grade. Like trying to tell kids that they're like transgender and stuff. From the ages of like,
As they should. I
yeah,
don't understand the issue.
but
Your
yeah,
brain's
but
not
I
even
guess,
developing yet. Yeah. That's
yeah, like teachers feel threatened by that. Like, oh, they can't groom kids to be transgender before they're 10 years old. So,
like, let me
uh,
ask you this: like, were you when you was a kid, did you feel like you was groomed? Like, did they really understand how they were brought up and they're during when they're younger? Your teacher
yeah,
didn't probably do that. It's probably nominal and non-existent at that time because it's not
yeah,
natural. Because it's understandable that an infant at that age does not know anything right from wrong. Like you just can't expect someone to know anatomy at such a stage like
and the
that.
thing
That's
is,
just
thinking about that, that's not a concern on your mind when you're in the kindergarten. You're thinking about nap
exactly.
time. You're thinking about toys. You're thinking about lunch. You're not you're not thinking about, oh, uh, do I want to fucking mutilate my genitals and become the opposite gender, or do I want to come home and tell my parents I'm non-binary? My pronouns are bug self.
Like you just literally putting a bunch of words in a random word generator, and that's what you just came out with. That's what it just sounds like, honestly. Like it's
How like they're inventing new shit every day, and like I saw this video of a gay kindergarten teacher. He was on like some local news channel complaining about
mm,
the bill, And he was like, "Oh my God, I can't talk about my husband with my kids. Like, what the hell is going on? My
Like,
kid,
why the fuck would you talk about your husband?
right?" He's like, "My kids see the pictures of me and my husband outside the classroom, and they want to know about my partner." I'm like, "Why do you have pictures of your husband outside
Exactly.
the
What are you
classroom?
doing?
You're supposed to be teaching these kids how to count to 10, how to do their ABCs, how to color inside the lines. Like, what the fuck are you doing?"
Bro, like what I want to know what happened to the teacher. What at what moment in your life did you feel like everything that you knew was a lie, which in fact wasn't a lie? You know what I'm saying?
Eh,
Like you just woke up one day. It had to be an experience. No one just was born that way. Something happened to you and made you think that way. Like there's no one can convince me otherwise that people are just born thinking like, oh, I'm trans. No,
Yeah,
no,
that's
no, no,
a
no.
combination of environment and bad influences and
Exactly.
drugs.
I think someone just trolled really hard and it just fucking
Yeah.
took off.
I
Like
mean,
the
that's what they did to Chris Chan, because he wasn't always trans. He used to be a he, and then he got trolled into being trans, basically.
see what I'm saying? It's crazy how the internet works. Like you getting trolled. See, that's a whole nother subject. You know, cyberbullying to that extent, cyber trolling. Like you're bitching about someone on the other side of the world or your fucking neighbor, wherever that's basically emphasizing the range of cyberbullying. But
Yeah,
you're bitching about that, and you're still choosing to either defend yourself, which is something that you really shouldn't do, especially if you know yourself. Like if you know you
yeah,
get triggered easily, you shouldn't really just stand there and try to defend yourself or try to
yeah,
correct someone over the internet. You really have no
right.
power, and that's
Especially
just a
someone you don't
ludicrous.
know and will never
Exactly. What? Yeah. Oh, he's making me upset. Hey, I'm gonna try to change his mind. After your first attempt, you should realize that's not gonna fly.
know,
That
right?
person's behind the safety confines of his world, quote unquote. He is
Right?
not
And
gonna stop for you unless you're someone that can actually do harm to them. And odds are, not every American can be harmful behind the internet. I'm sorry.
yeah,
That takes a specific person and a specific skill set to accomplish.
and
But
if they are, there are tools to deal with that, right? Like there's block buttons, there's report buttons. If
right?
they actually threaten you, you are allowed, you're able to send that to the police and be like, "I'm afraid for my life," or whatever. Like,
Exactly. I mean, do something. And if it
right?
doesn't work, then reevaluate why the fuck am I still coming to the same area expecting a different result.
Yeah.
That's the
Reevaluate
number
why the
one
fuck
thing.
you're not using the block button, which takes like 2 clicks on any website. Just yeah,
It's simple. It's a simple process. Like you said, simple. Or oh, the biggest way you can combat that is you see that off button right there? Just press it. Hold it down for three
right?
seconds. Guess what happens? Oh my gosh, you killed them. They can no longer talk to you.
Yeah,
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, people are at the age. These young individuals are growing up in the technological era. You know,
Well, that's the thing. We're
they
growing up with it. You think they would know it
well,
better
yeah,
we do?
the technology era came like around us, like when it first became a big thing. They're immersed in it, and you know, the whole point of these generations to be relatively better than the last one. So the fact that people just get stumped over what people say over the internet, especially if it's not really causing any immediate harm, not even immediate, just causing any harm in general to your lifestyle per se. Like, and what I mean by that is, you know, if a person says this, am I not gonna sleep? Am I not gonna eat? Am I not gonna wake up? Am I not gonna breathe? Am I not gonna be able to do my daily bodily functions to keep myself alive? All because of
Right?
what that person says. That person said that one thing and is basically making me not be able to live. Like, can you really understand that? It's, if it's like, oh, this person said this, oh, I can't go to work today. Oh, this person says I can't pay my bills today. Like, nah, cut that shit out. You can do all that. You're just choosing to let a few words over the internet dictate what the fuck you should do with your life, and that's serious. That's really explaining how sensitive or how
And that
what's the
shit
word?
wouldn't fly like even just a few years ago. But like
Because
I
yeah,
saw this clip of this like New York Times reporter where she's like, "Oh, whenever I post articles saying something fucking retarded and people call me on it, it bothers me. It's like cyberbullying." And she literally said it gave her PTSD. Like
single social tie. I had severe PTSD from this. I contemplated suicide. It got really bad. You feel like any little piece of information that gets out on you will be used by the worst people on the internet to destroy your life. And it's so isolating.
What, like, just stop having stupid takes online, one. But
Mm-hmm.
two, and the block button is a thing. But
Mm-hmm.
like, if people criticizing you on Twitter is like, there's no way that can give anyone PTSD. That's like,
Right.
you know, that's reserved for fucking people who have actually been through shit.
Mm-hmm.
And two, like, if we're gonna like be that fragile, like, what's next? Where do we go from here as a people? Where can
Honestly,
we go?
you just had no business being on the internet. Honestly, that's just to be
Yeah,
blunt. Just to be
yeah,
blunt. Yeah. So, what are you telling me? So, if someone said that to you in real life, what would you gonna do? That's what I would ask them.
yeah.
You gonna tell them, oh, you got PTSD?
And she
You gonna
started she
defend
started
yourself?
crying in the video too. She was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I'm sorry. The mean
Yeah,
comments gave me
right.
PTSD." Like,
But I would talk to your parents. I'm like, what happened? What happened during her upbringing?
right?
Like, well, this is her mentality right now. Like, you expect the whole world to be. They probably sheltered the crap out of their daughter. That's honestly what it was. You
I
told
want to
their
know how
daughter
she
one
got
thing.
this far. Like, how do you get through a job interview if you can't? Like,
Right, she was coddled. That's literally it. She was coddled every step of the way because that's their little daughter, their little angel. She's gonna not have to experience any type of rash or differences in life. It makes sense. It makes sense because the parents in reality know how fucked up this world is, and they want to do their best to make sure their child stays the way they were since they were like 5. That's not how this shit works. The sooner you get that shit over, rip that band-aid off, the better the healing process is gonna be. It's
mm,
like having a band-aid, fresh band-aid over time loses effectiveness, and then before you know it, it's gonna either one cause an infection, contagious, or two, it's just gonna it's probably gonna stick to your fucking skin. It's gonna be an extension of you. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
Like this is gonna be worse than what it actually is. You got to change that shit or let that shit heal on its own. She's gonna
yeah.
fucking learn. And you got PTSD. Yeah, all right. All right. Why don't you tell that to a veteran that actually, lost a
Right?
comrade in war and tell them what the fuck is PTSD? You just insulted, not you insulted how many people with that statement? Like, seriously.
Yeah. And we don't even have
Yeah,
to go that far. Like, say that to someone who's been robbed at gunpoint,
boom.
or like she's in New York. That fucking, like, people get robbed every day
Of
in New
all
York. Like,
people, of like all places, my bad. All places, you just like you're from New
yeah,
York and you bitching about that. Oh, Twitter. You got bodied by Twitter fingers. That's crazy. Twitter fingers. That's
right.
retarded. You're retarded. Oh, okay. The fuck? Like, what? Your mind is that malleable. Like, that's crazy. Yeah, I doubt she's hiding behind her privilege because she's a woman. I think that's a fucking reach.
Hmm.
She just thinks because she's a woman that everyone has to talk nicer.
Yeah.
What? Women?
That's that first world female privilege.
The fuck? Personally speaking, being around women, y'all talk the meanest to each other behind
Right?
y'all backs. It's just retarded.
Right? They want to talk about toxic masculinity. Guys don't talk about guys like that.
The fuck? This we either tell you straight up, or we just saying, just keep it pushing. We just
Right?
don't mess with it. Like, the fuck. If it's really serious, then we're gonna talk in person. We probably gonna fight, but that's about it. But like, you're gonna cry
Yeah.
about it? That's
And like,
crazy.
especially in the workplace, like, women hate each other in the workplace. Like,
The fuck? Are you good? You good?
they, guys are not that toxic, like, with
Right?
with their fellow man. You know,
Like, who does that? Like, are you proud of yourself? You proud of yourself? She had to be. You had to
you
be.
want to
I
talk
don't know.
about female empowerment, but like, you're tearing down everyone around you just to get
Bro,
up.
you got females that were born after you. Like, they're like 40, 50 years old and saying feminism failed.
Hmm.
You got your own team saying you failed. Take fucking notes. Take fucking notes. Feminism failed with a capital F, like
Yep.
female. It's crazy.
I mean, if they're letting transgender athletes play in women's sports, then that should
Act
be that should be the
right.
sign right there that it failed.
Exactly, but there's certain states. I forgot which state it was that does recently banned transgenders in the sports. Well, I forgot what state it was. I gotta find it. Or was it a school? It was either a state or school recently that happened.
It might have been Florida.
I would floor everything. Honestly, I believe that. Even if it's not true, I believe it
Yeah,
because
because
it's Florida.
that's where that bill, that don't quote unquote don't say gay bill is that
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier. Florida is like the only state fighting back against like all this crazy woke nonsense.
Yes. Florida's just one crazy place. I'm sorry. Anyone that's from Florida, if you watch this podcast, you're cool and all, but y'all lost a couple of brain cells along the way. Every year you lost one brain cell. I'm sorry. Like it's bad. But yeah, see, it's a start. Like people really trying to be progressive with it. Like they just literally they just don't know how to progress at all. Honestly, you just assume just like let's write a couple things and let's just push out on all social media or media platforms and it's just gonna flow naturally. That's not how that shit works. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You really and on top of it, you're arguing with fucking biology. You're arguing with facts, and we all know people argue against facts of that caliber. That's set in stone.
Well,
Is
we have actual teachers arguing against biology now, because that's why they need this bill, because they're telling little kids to get a sex change and take hormone blockers and hormone therapies like before they're even a teen. Like, how fucking insane is that? Like,
you're basically you didn't give birth to that child, number one. Number two, you have no parental rights to even be on that stage talking about what the child can and can't do. You're there to teach, and
right?
that's it. You're there to teach. You're not there to be a parent. You're there to teach.
Right.
Instill them with something that they would benefit from in the future to come.
Yeah,
Not
like,
something that's very what's the word? What is the word? Very starts to see. I can't even think about it. Controversial as that. You just
yeah,
can't. You
fuck,
you
it's
can't.
propaganda. And they're filling little kids' head and indoctrinating them with propaganda from fucking kindergarten. And that gay teacher, he had this book called The Gay BCs. Like,
Bro, they getting out of hand, bro. I'm just trying to buy my baby some books, bro. Look at this shit. A is for Allie. B is for bi. C is for coming out. D is for drag. These are children books, guys. These are children books. ML Webb, you're disrespectful, bro. My kids is just trying to learn, okay? They're just trying to learn. Why are you writing books like this? Can't they just be kids and learn their regular ABCs? What is going on?
F is still for family, though.
What is going equality? Like we got a lot. Gay, like G is for gay. Like we got a lot going on. Non-binary, what?
What the
Listen,
fuck is...
this is picture books.
Oh my god.
This is picture books. My 4-year-old don't know what the fuck non-binary is.
L is for lesbian. But
They don't know what lesbian is. Why are you writing this, ML Webb? You're disrespectful. Read this shit to your own kids.
orientation.
Like
And,
who
like,
does that? Who
yeah,
really went out their way to make a book called The Gay DCs? You're just not content with
right.
that something's not functioning right in your head to
Like,
think that
why
was
why do
okay.
you feel you're entitled to indoctrinate this kid and keep information from their parents about their upbringing and their mental state and whatnot? Like,
Like again, you're not their parent. I don't understand why you're trying
yeah,
to be a parent. You didn't push that kid out. You did not have
yeah,
sex to make that child. So why are you trying to be a parent to something
you
that
don't
you
you
have no
don't
right
have that
being?
right in the slightest. Like, you're not remotely close to having the right to you know to teach those kinds of things to a kid. You're there to teach them the facts and nothing else. You're there to teach them, in kindergarten, how to count, how to read, how to spell, how to,
But
whatever, how to just like get along and fucking just
like
operate in a social space, like at
lead the
at
yeah,
most
exactly.
that's what you're there to do.
Lead the biology to middle school and high school where they actually have professors that actually specify in that field, not someone that's
Yeah,
just a general education personnel. Not to make fun of all of
yeah,
them, but not to be rude, but that's the truth. Like that's the case,
Yeah,
we just might as well stick with one. Why do we need to have different professors? We might just have one professor that just teaches us everything from the start. Then why does that
and
have to
that's
be
the thing.
different? You know what I'm saying?
Most professors, even if they're just teaching biology or just teaching physics or whatever, most of these teachers, they're not physicists or whatever. They
Mm-hmm.
went to college and they majored in education, and they
Exactly.
majored in education for whatever field. So it's not even
Mm-hmm.
that they have practical experience in the real life. They studied a thing to teach a thing. They didn't
Mm-hmm.
study a thing to practice or do that thing, then teach it. You do get some professors like that who actually work in their field, and then they're
Uh-huh.
like, "Oh, I'm going to teach for, and instead of, I'm getting old, I'm just going to take it easy and teach."
Yeah, like that's fine. That's totally fine.
Yeah, but like most of these teachers, they don't have any practical experience. They've learned how to teach. They've learned how to impart someone else's information to someone else.
That's literally that's all education is. You're just passing down knowledge from someone else that's no longer alive. That's literally what it comes down to.
Yeah.
Like that's education. And
Like
because of
if
that,
you're a teacher, you're not an expert. You're just a form of communication.
phew, tough, tough. That's tough. That's tough. Hey, you hear that? You hear that? Say it again. Say it again.
Yeah, unabashedly, I stand by what I said. If you are a teacher, you are not an expert in whatever field or whatever it is you're doing, whether you're a general teacher in elementary school or you're a specific teacher of a specific thing in middle school or high school, you are not an expert unless you have actually worked and practiced in whatever field. You are just a conduit for knowledge. You've learned from someone else, who've learned how to pass on that information to someone else, and that's all you're there to do.
Boom. Yeah, yeah, it's gonna be some triggering words right there.
Yeah.
I know some people gonna probably say like, oh, you know what the fuck you're talking about. You sound like bigoted, yada yada yada. But like, can you really refute that? Like, can you honestly refute that? That sounds like a sound argument to me. What do you think? If you really think about it, like you said, there's only a few people that actually practice what they teach. That's just
Yeah.
the truth. If you're literally using the book to teach, you have to really ask yourself, am I an expert? If you have
Yep.
to like every day, you have to go like, okay, let's open their pages to this thing. Let's do this. Like every day, you're not really speaking from experience. It's not like we can ask you a question you just know off the top of your fucking head. It's like it's not like you rehearse the book. Like you don't
Yeah.
rehearse the subject. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah. Like
yeah,
you
great.
didn't go
Oh,
out there and take the pictures for that textbook of people experimenting on what's it called, dissecting creatures or whatever.
mhm. That's just
You
passed down.
like,
Yeah.
and that's the thing. Like it's just like a couple people, a few people making all these textbooks, and these textbooks are used throughout the nation. So it's all
Hmm.
these teachers all over the nation, uh, basically just getting their information from just like a handful of sources in each different field, and that itself might be a collection of other things, basically like Wikipedia in fucking physical form.
Yeah, Wikipedia. I mean, look, it was a. I remember when Wikipedia was somewhat of a source that people could use, but what happened? You just realized that people can just alter,
Yeah.
factual information, and now it's no longer a credible source.
And now
Like,
they have like moderators who will like censor certain things if it doesn't fit the narrative. Like
hmm
you could say something as it is, and the moderator will go in and edit back what you did to change it back how it used to be.
like who has time for that? Like, just keep it the way it was. I don't understand.
Yeah.
I don't understand. Like, if you really like on the layman's or like on the dumbest level, quote unquote. I use that the word dumb loosely
Yeah.
though. Um, why do you think people save notes for the people of like after them? Like, let's say I have a friend that's in 10th grade and he took
Yeah.
history. He took all the notes. I'm about to take the same teacher professor. And he just gave me his notes. I basically have the whole year of notes with me already, and you're just gonna reiterate everything because you're not teaching anything different. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, what's the point of
You're
that?
just, like I said, you're just a conduit for information, usually
You know?
from these textbooks that are written by the same 4 or 5 people. And, like, yeah, like that teacher might have some gained experience over all the years of teaching and whatnot, but they didn't go out there and collect all this information for the textbook. And the fact that all these textbooks are, required in public schools throughout the whole nation
Mhm.
So it's like even if you have a professor who worked in the field for 40 years, they're still bound by these education regulations that they have to use this textbook. They have to teach from
Exactly.
this textbook. They can give you
Exactly.
their own experiences and opinions and stuff, but at the end of the day, they still have to like give you a certain amount of work from the
Exactly.
textbooks and test you based on these textbooks. So
Right.
it's like, you know,
I mean,
they're
yeah.
even if you have a legit professor who knows what the fuck they're talking about, they're still hamstrung by all these, regulations and
Unfortunately.
standards.
It's very unfortunate, honestly, and I feel bad for them. And some professors actually do it. They understand it. They'll tell you honestly, yeah, I'm forced to
Yeah,
teach this or this, that. Yeah, I can't really teach what I want to teach that
yeah,
actually be applicable in your life because that's just the way that school system works. It's
yeah,
programmed that way on purpose. Especially when it comes to history. History, I would argue, is like one of the worst subjects to actually study or try to master because you realize, like, again, history is told by the people of the winning squad,
yeah.
not the
History is
losing
written by
squad.
the
So
victors, and or
you're
as it
not
is
getting
nowadays, histories is written by the 4 or 5 dudes who always write the new editions of the textbook. So
boom,
history
right?
could change from year to year if suddenly there's a different author on the thing,
The
or
only way,
they decide
yeah,
they don't like something, something, a certain part of history might be considered controversial 5 years from now, so
yeah.
they'll scrap out all those paragraphs from the history book.
Whatever fits
And
the agenda, whatever they want you to know, that's literally what it is. Like, and that's the sad part. And you
everyone's
won't
everyone's
really
going
know
to teach
that.
from that history book, and they're going to take it as fact, and the students are going to take it as fact, and they're not going to know any better.
It's sad. Unless you get into the field yourself, then that's the only way you're gonna know. Like a true historian will tell you,
Yeah,
versus like someone like that's in elementary or middle school will tell you. Like there's two different types of knowledge. You know what I'm saying? Unless you're gonna be a PhD type of guy,
yeah.
or I'll even go as little as a master minimum. Then you really
Even then,
can't get
once you get
upset.
into the world of like masters and PhDs, everything's about peer review research papers, and all that means is someone else who the system approves of read
Hmm.
over that research paper and said there's nothing wrong with it, or they said, it was done correctly. There's no,
Yeah, like
um,
there's like little to no room of like error or opinions. Basically,
yeah,
it's the most
there's no,
concrete, supporting evidence. Yeah, yeah, like that's really what it
yeah,
is. Someone else did the
or like,
work for you.
what's the word for like when you plagiarism? That's the main
Yes.
thing they check these papers for is plagiarism. So it
Yeah.
doesn't like, you could make up your source. You could be like, oh, I went out and interviewed 30 people, but it was all anonymous, and that's totally legit. You could, for a research paper, you could keep everyone's information anonymous, so you could fill out like 30 surveys by yourself, and no one would know, and no one would have any way to know. And as long as you didn't plagiarize anything, that'll go through the system, that'll be entered into a database. Whatever professor or doctor will read it, they'll be like, okay, it's not plagiarized, and the testing methods sound legit. They sound by the books. So even though the information could all be made up,
As long as you didn't
everything
copy that work. Yeah. Yeah,
it's
basically.
quote unquote peer reviewed, so it's okay. It is now a source. It is now factual information, and academics can now use that in an argument, and they can use that to teach people, and they can use that to influence textbooks and curriculums.
They're,
Yeah,
they're okay with that. Anyone that challenges that, they're either a moron or idiot or,
like it's
just
peer
like,
reviewed, so it must be fact. It must be true. Yeah,
right. The funny part is like, especially if it's a peer review article that actually disproves whatever someone else says. Like those are one
yeah.
of the favorite ones. Like there's facts that support your claim, there's facts that support my claim, but you devalue mine because your butt hurt. Like I don't understand that.
I got this peer review paper over here. It says you're a low IQ piece of shit, and you eat dookie for breakfast.
Like what? Like really? You get triggered off of that. Like it's crazy. Hey, but like it's just weird. It's not even weird. It's just tiring. Every day is
Yeah,
just some BS that happens, and it's not even cute anymore.
yeah, but
It's not even
that's what
cute.
our education system is built on. Peer review papers, and like that's like how fucked up, how stupid is that?
Look, okay, so yeah, you get a A+ because you're able to cite someone else's work correctly. That's basically what it is.
Yeah,
You researched it. You didn't use their own words, even though it's basically the same thing. You just probably added 1, 2 words, some fancy stuff. You wanted creativity. So basically, it's a creative way to plagiarize work. That's what you're teaching us to do.
Yeah,
To not get in
because
trouble by.
you're basically allowed to copy and paste stuff as long as you quote and then cite it. And that's all most research papers that you're going to do for undergrads
Like,
are, is just copy and paste and shit. But as long as you cite it, it's okay.
like it's retarded. Copy and paste. You can copy and paste like 5 pages. What if you cite everything at the end? It's an A plus. Okay, bro.
I did that for one of my papers, and like the professor I had, he was like fucking 80 years old or whatever, so he just used this computer program
Uh-huh.
that would just check everything against the database for plagiarism. And even
Uh-huh.
though most of my shit was copy pasted, it only picked up like one paragraph as plagiarism.
Mm-hmm.
And I emailed him back and I'm like, I cited it though, so like it shouldn't show up. Like I quoted and cited it. And he was
Yeah.
like, oh, we'll just like try it again. So I changed the quote to a paraphrase, and then I
Uh-huh.
resubmitted the paper, and then it cleared me. No plagiarism at all. But the rest of the
Yeah.
copy paste shit was in there, and that was fine. And I cited everything, so the
Like
system
what's
shouldn't have picked up anything to begin
going?
with. But that's what
Yo.
my paper was graded on. So
Exactly. It just begs the question, why are we even doing papers if you're really thinking about
right,
it? Why are you doing papers?
because like 90% of it's gonna be copy pasted shit. And
Right?
only if it's for purpose of your graduation, then you're gonna have to go out and actually like do a survey or something.
Mm-hmm.
And
Like
like
the
at
only
that point, like you're just gonna be copy pasting shit from the survey. So you're just gonna be copy and pasting other people's words.
it's not even your own words. Like
Yeah.
I don't understand. It's not even your own words.
Like I do a research paper on what your favorite fucking flavor of bubblegum is and why. So then I get 30 people to write me at least 2 sentences on what their favorite flavor is and why. And then
Mm-hmm.
I just copy and paste all that. And then I just cite like survey 1, survey 2, survey 3. See the addendum or whatever the fuck it's called. I forget what it's called. But where you post all your surveys at the end.
Oh, I forgot what it's called too.
Which, by the way, I could just make up because they're all anonymous and they're allowed to be anonymous.
Duh. Yeah, it's just
So I could be those 30 people who said, fucking orange is the best flavor in the universe, and if you disagree, you're a retard.
yeah, like yeah, go ahead and fact check that, homie.
And if those are the words they use, then I could put "you are a retard" in my research paper, and it's
All
totally
right?
fine.
You wouldn't know the difference.
Yep.
So it's like it's a creative way to bullshit the system. That's the way you're teaching. This wild. People succeed when they can bullshit the system. The
Yep.
people that actually try to do it that way suffer. That's kind of fucked up.
And our papers that we wrote for university are now in that university's database, so other people can use our papers and just quote
Ta-da!
that and copy paste it, and they've done their job.
Congratulations. In the real world, it's not. Real world is not. I don't know. It's just completely different. You have to stress out on papers, and it's like that's only gonna apply to like half the people. Not being generous
Yeah.
with that. Like, depending on what field they are.
Right.
Yeah,
So many fields don't use that, and if a field does involve research, it involves like more, you know, potent and
yeah,
realistic
like
research,
the
not just like
actual
being
information.
in a database and quoting people. Like you need to actually go out and get data and have evidence for shit. Like if you're
Yeah.
doing fucking a fucking medical movie, you need to actually go out and get like a surgeon and get a doctor and be like, all right, is this how
Mhm.
this shit is done? Can't just like go look for that shit in a research paper database and be like, okay, well, this seems right.
They get your ass jammed up.
Yeah.
Ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Like, it's it's like you really have to sit down and just like take a step back from what the system is trying to push you to learn.
Yeah.
Once you take that step back and realize, you know, like it's life isn't what you think it is. It really isn't. Right out the womb, it's like everything's preset for you to do, and if you deviate from that, that's a problem. But no one tells you that the people that deviate from it have a better chance of succeeding in life because they refuse to be manipulated. They refuse to go against, the norms of society. No one wants to teach that. No one likes that.
Or
that type of privilege. Yeah, go
even
ahead.
if shit doesn't work out because the system is so against you, at least I think you would at least be happier being able to think for yourself and
Nah,
not just
that's the biggest fear of people. People look. Here's the thing I've had to think about sometimes because honestly, mm, it's like if people can't be alone with their thoughts for about a minute, what makes you think that they're able to just think on their own? You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah,
what
that's
makes you think
true.
that they want to do that? People, I don't know a lot of people that can sit in a quiet room by themselves and think about their thoughts. You wanna know why? Because it's scary.
Yeah,
They are scared to actually know that this is who I am and
yeah,
this is what I think. They rather have someone tell them what to think and what to do. So it
yeah.
alleviates all types of insecurities or anything of that nature. And that's a fucking problem. That
Because
is a huge
a lot of shit you're
fucking problem.
told doesn't actually make sense, and
Exactly.
thinking about that can be scary.
Doesn't make
People are gonna
sense.
call you a bigot or a conspiracy theorist or whatever.
Exactly. Conspiracy theories. Well, that's just a creative way of saying I'm a free thinker.
Yeah,
Okay. I have evidence that doesn't support the mass that makes me a conspiracy theorist.
yeah.
Now that sounds retarded. Do you have any evidence? Oh, it's just the norm. Who makes the
Oh well,
norm though?
one guy on the news, he said it, said it's good, and so it's good. And then they had this guy on the news who's the doctor, this one doctor, and he speaks for all the doctors, obviously. So
Right? Like no, no. Okay. I mean, but again, the doctor speaks for all doctors. At the end of the day, it's like you choose what you want to follow. It's just
yeah,
easy. Again, you just do it because it's easier. There's no blame. There's no blame. That's what it is. People are scared to take blame or accountability. Accountability for their actions for the most part.
yep.
I mean, I'm not
Well,
gonna
just
lie, we're all guilty of it from like one time or another, but at the end of the
yeah,
day, as long as you don't let it consume you, as long as you understand like, hey, I'm human, there may be times where I do this, but for the most part, I want to think for myself. I want to think outside the box. Then that should be the pushing the norm. That could actually better society if everyone had a different way of thinking.
yep. Then we'd
But
actually have a way to, make the entire group smarter. We actually were honest with ourselves. We could be honest
hmm
with other people.
but this system's rigged. It's rigged that way, so we don't do that. We don't think that. We don't feel that. We don't do anything of that nature. And it's fine. It may work for the most people, but for ones that don't, that's what makes them different. That's why they're in different places in life.
Yep,
People that break from the matrix, as they say,
yep,
quote unquote. That's kind of what makes them stand out, and that's what also makes them a threat. People
yep,
see, like people that break from the matrix, you have two paths. You can be a person that's good for change, or to make it worse because you know the system. Some people can manipulate the system in their favor. Some people want to help other people break from it, so that way they can do something better, not just for themselves, but for other people. They don't want to. We got two different types of people,
yeah.
but all
Right,
it
yeah.
requires, yeah,
It's a scary thought because there's that one guy in the first Matrix movie. He was like, "All right, I'll give up I'll give up Keanu Reeves. Just put me back in the Matrix and make me rich
exactly,
and have steak dinners and a hot wife or whatever."
exactly. And you don't even know if you're actually getting that deal, for all we fucking
Yeah,
know. Like you're willing to take a 50-50 on something you don't know versus being 100% in tune with yourself. Like that's like,
yep,
can you fathom that? You were made different for a reason, and because people can't control difference, they get scared
mm,
and they let that fear dictate how the rest of the world should move. Like that's not normal in a sense. Like when people use the term norm, first thing I ask you is like, what is normal? And they
yeah.
can't answer that. They're like, good point. Because they don't even know what normal is. They just go along with it because that's what someone else said,
Yeah.
and so
Well,
forth and so forth.
normal is going with the flow and not going against anything, and they're already doing that, so they're not thinking about normal in that sense. They're
Right, right. Yeah. Everyone could be jumping off a cliff. Oh, it's normal. But I could say, but don't you want to live? You're like, well, yeah, but everyone seems to be doing it, so I'm gonna do it too. Okay, go ahead. I'll just stay here alive while you guys, break your ankles or die for all we know. And then you want to be,
everyone else is getting their fourth booster shot. Why wouldn't you?
hmm yeah, yeah. One, two, three. No, you want four? Okay, cool. Yeah, they want to leak information about how there's so many side effects of the Pfizer and Moderna that like you can write like a Star Wars movie, like all 6 episodes on that shit. Like yeah, go ahead. By all means.
I
By
mean,
all
the
means.
first 3 didn't work, but the fourth one should work, right?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, totally. Push that agenda so much you break up families and relationships and jobs over this shit. Like, yeah, all right, go ahead, bro. Do you, bro? Do
Yeah.
you? I mean, think about it. Like,
Yeah.
it just hurts your brain. Like, if you really just take a moment to just like anyone that listens to this, like, if you really just take a step back, like literally silence your mind, take a step back, try to do like an astral projection of yourself, and just see who you are and where you are right now in life. I guarantee you understand that something doesn't feel right off rip. You would feel like you're being programmed from the get-go. You would see the bullshit that's being presented to you on a daily basis, but because these these people in high places have a way of manipulating or altering the way that you perceive reality, it's damaging your cognitive uniqueness, to say the least.
You gotta
And
do that astral projection like Jim Carrey and Ace Ventura.
yes,
Oh,
to some degree.
righty
Righty then.
then.
Right? Like all that shit. You just gotta be one with yourself. And then you realize, like, damn, I've been doing this for quite some time and waking up doing this. They've been telling me this. I just go ahead with it. Like, again, it's very easy. They condition people to be okay with not being accountable, and that's dangerous. That's
You know
flipping
that
dangerous.
that guy on the TV, he wouldn't lie to me. He
Of
wouldn't be
course not.
he wouldn't be on the TV if he was a liar. He wouldn't get that position.
Of course not. Nah, he didn't, sign away his whatever he had to do in order to get to that position. He wasn't, dictated by a monitor that tells him exactly what to say to millions of people. Of course not. He's definitely doing that because he knows what he's talking about. And that's not the case. I'm sorry. It's not. It's literally programming from the beginning, from the get-go. Either you're with it or you're not. If you're not with it, then that's good. If you're with it, then I hope you get out of it soon enough, because sooner or later you're gonna be sitting back when you're retired and be like, damn, I had like a life. I woke up, went to job like everyone else. I went to the same pub like everyone else. Like you just had that mundane life. You don't really take chances. You don't really do anything of that sort because you're just comfortable. They do just know so people are content. They don't want to explore their options. That's kind of what it is.